Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Today, SpaceX plots a $1.75 trillion market earthquake. The AI talent wars completely flip upside down as OpenAI investors start to panic. And we look at why corporate drama is destroying your favorite startups from the inside out.
I mean, the macro narrative is it's shifting right beneath our feet today. The signals are flashing red pretty much across the board.
They really are. So for you listening, we're cutting through the noise today to bring you the actual signals you need. We're diving straight into the sheer velocity of the space economy because, well, right now, it's officially the market's main character.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
Right. So a massive report dropped via Bloomberg, and this was highlighted by the Kobisi letter account on X, revealing that SpaceX has confidentially filed for an IPO.
Wow. Confidential filing.
Yeah, and they're targeting a June 2026 listing. And the numbers here are, they're almost hard to comprehend. We're talking about a $1.75 trillion valuation.
It's just staggering.
And a $75 billion raise. To put that in perspective for you, that would make it one of the largest public market debuts in human history.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal figure. And I think, it reflects a very specific kind of market euphoria right now. Investors are just desperate for growth stories that break out of the traditional software sphere.
Exactly. And you can feel that euphoria literally everywhere today. If you open your Google homepage this morning, you probably saw the official Google Doodle celebrating NASA's Artemis II mission.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai posted this really beautiful tribute to the liftoff, wishing the astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cuff, and Jeremy Hansen the absolute best on their 10-day lunar flyby.
Which is a huge deal, historically speaking.
It is. Think about the historical weight of this. This is the first crewed moon mission in over 50 years. They're using the SLS rocket and the Orion spacecraft to go deeper into space than any human has gone since Apollo 17 in, 1972?
Yeah, early 70s, right?
Space is just the ultimate bull market right now. And retail investors are absolutely salivating at the chance to get, indirect exposure to Elon Musk's empire through this upcoming IPO.
Look, I get it. The sheer engineering required to put humans around the moon it's an undeniable triumph. I'll grant you that.
Right.
But if you're looking at your portfolio today and you're buying into a $1.75 trillion valuation on pure, unadulterated optimism, you are basically walking blindfolded into a geopolitical trapdoor.
Okay, wait, what? Why a trapdoor?
Because everyone is staring up at the shiny rockets, right? But the real valuation of SpaceX depends entirely on the ground game, and their ground game is highly, highly vulnerable.
I don't see the vulnerability. The market clearly sees a global monopoly in the making here. If you build the foundational rails for a planetary internet, you kind of own the future.
Well, yeah, but you only own the future if sovereign nations actually allow you to operate within their borders.
Okay, fair point.
Let's look at the actual engine of that valuation, which is Starlink. So the CB Doge account shared this fascinating video today. It features a waving Indian flag that seamlessly merges into the X logo.
Oh, I saw that on the feed, yeah.
Right, and it's announcing that SpaceX just signed a memorandum of understanding with the state of Meghalaya in India. The stated goal is to bring satellite internet to some of the most remote, hard-to-reach villages, schools, and health centers in that specific region.
Which is incredibly bullish. You're talking about massive market penetration into an entirely underserved population of, over 1 billion people? That is exactly how you justify a $1 trillion valuation.
On a spreadsheet, yes. But the reactions to this news are completely fractured, and for a very good reason. Half the data shows people celebrating the obvious leap in rural education and healthcare access.
Sure.
But the other half, they are raising massive national security red flags. Meghalaya is situated in a highly sensitive border region.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Exactly. Critics are pointing out the recent, very real arrests of foreign operatives in that specific area. So you have to ask yourself a really hard question. Is a $1.75 trillion valuation actually secure if sovereign nations start treating your primary growth engine as a defense threat?
Wow.
Right. What happens when a foreign government decides that an American-owned satellite network beaming encrypted data over their most sensitive borders is a security vulnerability they just simply can't tolerate?
I hear you, but I'm going to push back on that hard. Isn't this just the modern equivalent of laying telecom cables?
It's totally different.
No, but think about it. 100 years ago, governments panicked over who controlled the telegraph wires. 30 years ago, they panicked over fiber optics. But ultimately, the sheer momentum of consumer demand always wins out.
Consumer demand doesn't always trump national defense, though.
But look at the public space stocks right now. Rocket Lab is consistently validating the sector. The market doesn't care about border politics because the infrastructure just becomes too essential. By the time a government figures out how to regulate or block Starlink, their local economies will be entirely dependent on it.
See, the telecom analogy is fundamentally flawed because the actual physics are different. You can physically cut a fiber optic cable at your border. You can send a regulator to shut down a local cell tower. You cannot easily regulate a constellation of thousands of low Earth orbit satellites beaming data directly down into small, easily hidden, encrypted receivers.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
The hardware is just too decentralized.
Exactly. The regulatory friction isn't going to be a slow negotiation over years. It's going to be immediate and aggressive. The market might be ignoring the border politics today because they're blinded by the whole moon launch, but sovereign defense ministries absolutely will not ignore it.
Well, we'll see who blinks first, the regulators or the consumers.
Yeah.
But honestly, that friction over physical infrastructure is exactly why capital has been fleeing into digital infrastructure.
Right.
Like if you can't easily build a satellite array over India, you just go build a massive data center in Nevada. But the financial reality of that whole AI pivot is starting to completely flip on its head right now.
Oh, the digital infrastructure bubble is finally starting to hiss.
It's more than a hiss, man. It's a full alarm. There is a viral post today from the NS123ABC account that is exposing a stark shift in the AI talent and capital wars.
What's the shift?
Well, institutional investors, we're talking major hedge funds and venture capitalists, are desperately trying to offload $600 million in OpenAI shares on secondary markets like Next Round Capital.
Just for anyone unfamiliar who might be listening, a secondary market is where investors try to sell their shares of a private company to other private buyers before an IPO actually happens. It's usually a really good gauge of pure demand.
And the demand has basically flatlined. The buyers have completely vanished. Capital and talent are rapidly flowing away from OpenAI and moving straight toward their main rival, Anthropic.
Wow.
And the irony here is so thick you could cut it with a knife. The Post juxtaposes this frozen market news with a video clip of Sam Altman from late 2025. This is just 4 months ago.
Oh, I know the clip we're talking about.
Right. He's standing there confidently telling his shareholders, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. We can sell.
It is a stunning reversal of sentiment. I mean, just recently, OpenAI raised, what, $122 billion at an $852 billion valuation?
Something crazy like that, yeah.
And now those secondary markets are frozen solid. The risk profile has entirely changed. But if those panicked investors think pivoting their capital to Anthropic is some sort of safe harbor, they fundamentally misunderstand the macroeconomics of what this technology actually costs to run.
Because Anthropic is facing its own existential math problem, right? The compute debt.
Precisely. Dwarkesh Patel shared a clip today from his podcast featuring Anthropic's own CEO, Dario Amodei. And Dario is actively warning about bankruptcy risks across the entire AI sector.
Which is wild coming from him.
It is. He breaks down how these companies are currently locking themselves into multi-billion-dollar commitments for gigawatt-scale data centers. We are talking about facilities that require entire dedicated power grids and take years to construct.
Yeah, we're beyond just buying some servers. This is heavy industry.
Right. And Dario's point is terrifyingly simple. If AI revenue growth slows down by even a single year, the interest and maintenance on that compute debt will sink these companies. The brutal irony is that Dario is warning about the exact same massive financial overcommitment that his own company is forced to participate in just to stay in the race.
Let's bring this macroeconomic debt down to the reality of the user experience, though. Because you have to ask, are the AI products actually working well enough to justify these gigawatt power bills?
That is the trillion-dollar question.
Exactly. An immunologist, Daria Yunetmaz, ran a fascinating test today. He wanted to give Anthropic the benefit of the doubt on a known token-eating bug.
Oh, yeah. For the listener, a token bug in AI is basically it's like hiring a taxi driver who intentionally drives you in circles to rack up the meter, but at the end of the ride, you aren't even at your destination.
That's a perfect analogy.
The AI just burns through its processing limit without actually solving the problem.
Exactly. So Daria prompted both Anthropic's Claude Code and OpenAI's Codex to build a cute, functional pixel RPG game for the iPhone. Like exploration, crafting, combat, NPCs, a standard complex coding task.
Okay, so how did the two models handle it?
It was an absolute bloodbath. OpenAI's Codex crushed the task. It delivered a fully playable game using only 7% of its session limit.
Wow. And Claude?
Claude Code, on the other hand, completely melted down. It hallucinated missing features, burned through 80% of its processing limit, doing basically nothing, asked the user for revisions, burned another 12%, and then ate 8% of his entire weekly allowance.
No.
Yes, it completely failed to produce a working game. Daria literally canceled his premium Claude Max subscription on the spot due to the sheer frustration.
See, that specific moment right there, a power user canceling a premium subscription out of sheer frustration, that is the exact revenue death spiral that Dario Amodei is terrified of.
Exactly. It's churn.
You cannot pay off multi-billion-dollar gigawatt server farms when your core product is hallucinating and actively alienating your most dedicated paying user base. The financial house of cards requires exponential revenue growth, not churn.
And the technical failures are also creating massive consumer confusion. The landscape is so chaotic right now that developers don't even believe real news anymore.
What do you mean?
Well, Matthew Berman highlighted a post from the GXJO dev account. Anthropic actually did open source Claude Code today, like releasing the legitimate GitHub repository so developers could look under the hood.
Oh, that's actually huge news.
It is. But this developer literally thought it was an April Fool's prank. He posted a video of a guy giving intense side-eye, refusing to believe the release was real.
That's hilarious, but also kind of tragic.
Right. When the market is so disjointed that a major foundational model open sourcing a tool is treated as a literal joke, you have a severe product market alignment problem.
The trust is evaporating. And while the companies building these foundational models are burning cash and losing trust, we are seeing a fascinating divergence in how software is actually being built on top of them.
Yes. The battle between corporate wrappers and indie developers. This is where the real innovation is hiding.
Absolutely.
On the corporate side, Aaron Levy, the CEO of Box, teased a new AI-integrated collaborative markdown editor for their platform today. It essentially lets you use AI agents to summarize earnings reports stored in your Box folders.
Sounds pretty standard.
Yeah, and the immediate reaction from the community, specifically from users like Robin Maben, was just total apathy. The response was basically, what's so new about this? We already have Notion. We already have Obsidian. Taking a text editor and wrapping an AI chatbot around it isn't moving the needle anymore.
Consumers have completely wised up to the illusion. A thin corporate wrapper around an unreliable language model isn't a competitive moat. It's just a feature masquerading as an entirely new product.
But the indie developers, they are bypassing the corporate bloat entirely and doing mind-blowing things.
What are they building?
So the Developer Levels I.O. posted about the massive security vulnerabilities currently plaguing Chrome extensions. Malware criminals are literally finding popular, trusted extensions, paying the original developers huge sums of cash to buy them, and then quietly injecting malware to steal cookies and local storage from millions of users.
That is a massive supply chain nightmare.
It's terrifying. So his solution, he's using AI to just vibe code his own personal Chrome extensions.
Vibe code?
Yeah, vibe coding is essentially using natural language prompts to have the AI instantly write custom, private, single-use software just for you. He is building his own tools from scratch to protect himself from the corporate malware supply chain.
It is the ultimate defensive use case for artificial intelligence. You don't need a bloated software suite. You just need the exact tool for the exact moment.
And it gets even wilder than that. Deedy shared a look at AI world models today, specifically the Soul world model. They're using a technique called Gaussian splatting.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's insane.
It is. Imagine taking millions of flat 2D Google Maps Street View photos and using an AI to mathematically puff them up into a 3D cloud of color and texture that you can actually walk through.
It's like building the matrix from photographs.
Exactly. They are turning static map data into fully playable, dynamic video game engines. You can literally prompt this model to flood the historical streets of Seoul or add Godzilla to the skyline and navigate it smoothly. It is breathtaking innovation, and it's happening entirely outside of these bloated corporate structures.
The dichotomy is what fascinates me, though. Vibe coding your own defensive tools, creating playable historical archives from raw map data, that is the actual promise of AI realized.
Right.
But let's connect this back to the broader economic reality. Those incredible indie projects do not pay off $1 trillion in server debt.
Yeah, they definitely don't.
The independent developers are extracting all the creative value from these models, But the corporate entities that spent billions building the models are struggling to monetize them at the massive scale required to simply survive.
Which brings us to the core mechanism behind all of this. Whether you are launching $1.75 trillion space rockets or trying to pay off a gigawatt AI data center, execution always comes down to human behavior and company culture.
It's the one variable that you cannot solve by simply throwing more compute power at it.
So true, and the culture in tech right now is showing profound cracks. Gary Tan, the CEO of Y Combinator, posted a warning today advising founders to study the Cartman drama triangle.
Oh, the psychological model.
Right. For the uninitiated, this is a psychological model of dysfunctional relationships. It involves a victim who feels helpless, a persecutor who gets blamed, and a rescuer who swoops in to save the day but actually just enables the dysfunction.
Right. So, for example, the code breaks. So the manager plays the victim, blames the engineer as the persecutor, and then hires a new consultant to be the rescuer. It's just a toxic loop.
Exactly. But the most brilliant insight came from a reply by Abhijit Patra, a 23-year-old student founder. He noted that if leaders are too afraid to face another person directly and have an honest, uncomfortable one-on-one conversation, they'll drag a third person into the mix and just call it process.
Wow.
He stated point blank, that is how companies rot from the inside.
That is easily one of the most astute observations I have seen all year. I mean, if we apply that insight directly to the tech bubble we were just unpacking, it explains the current paralysis perfectly.
How so?
Well, bloated tech companies build massive layers of middle management. They invent process, specifically to avoid confronting the uncomfortable reality that their core products are failing. It's institutionalized avoidance. You create an exploratory task force instead of just sitting down and fixing the hallucination bug.
You add another tier of management. Instead of calling up the user and admitting your AI just burn through their entire token limit without giving them a playable game.
Exactly. And the only antidote to that corporate drama triangle is pure, unfiltered communication with the market. Lenny Rachitsky highlighted a thread today that he called the absolute definition of product market fit.
Oh, I saw this, the Tim Ferriss post.
Yeah. Author Tim Ferriss simply went on X, asked his audience for raw 0 to 10 ratings on a highly niche product of Matic robot vacuum, and got instant unfiltered validation. No focus groups, no PR spin, no middle management triangulation, just a direct question and the direct market truth. That level of directness is what survival looks like right now.
It is entirely about tearing down the buffers. To really drive this concept home, let's look at the ultimate human example of accountability from the culture feed today. It is the absolute antithesis of the corporate drama triangle.
I think I know which one you're going to bring up.
There's a story going viral via Right Angle News. A Baltimore mother found out that her son had robbed a local hot dog stand. He literally stole the tip jar money right off the counter.
Yeah, I saw the footage of this. It was captured on the street vendor's live stream.
Instead of hiding, instead of making excuses, playing the victim, or hiring a lawyer to obscure the facts, this mother marched back to that exact same hot dog stand days later. She returned the stolen cash in full. She apologized to the owner face-to-face.
Amazing.
And she confirmed she had personally placed her son into an alcohol treatment facility to address the root of the problem.
The second-order cultural impact of a story like that is profound. It is an absolute masterclass in accountability. Think about the stark contrast here. We live in an ecosystem where CEOs of trillion-dollar tech conglomerates hide behind carefully crafted, sanitized PR statements the second their models hallucinate or their stock tanks.
Yep, they deploy armies of lawyers.
Right, armies of lawyers and middle managers to obscure the truth. And here is a mother in Baltimore who demonstrated immediate, direct confrontation of a highly painful problem. She bypassed all the drama, looked the person her son wronged directly in the eye, and fixed the issue.
No process, no triangulation, just raw, honest responsibility. I mean, imagine if a tech CEO operated with that level of terrifying transparency, just coming out and saying, our product burned your money, here's a refund, and here's how we're fixing the architecture.
That is exactly what the market is starving for right now. Whether you are a founder trying to raise $75 billion for a space IPO, or an indie developer vibe coding an extension in your bedroom, the entities that actually survive the next 12 months will be the ones that operate with that Baltimore mother's level of directness.
No, true.
The economic tolerance for bloated process and delayed reality checks is officially over.
As we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to know where you think the data is pointing. What is your prediction for tomorrow?
Based on the sheer panic we are seeing in the secondary crates today, combined with Dario Amade's very public warnings about compute debt, I predict we will see a major, heavily funded AI startup officially pivot away from building foundational models entirely within the next 48 hours.
Wow, 48 hours.
Yeah, they will shift 100% of their remaining resources to consumer applications. The realization is hitting the boardrooms right now. Foundational compute debt is a financial death trap without immediate, undeniable product market fit. They have to stop building the engine and start selling the car before they run out of cash.
That is a massive industry shift to watch out for. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to chew on as you go about your day. We live in an era where we can use artificial intelligence to mathematically inflate old Google Maps street views into a fully playable dynamic video game of the world. We literally have the physical technology to strap human beings to a rocket and send them back around the moon for the first time in half a century. We are engineering daily miracles. But with all of that incredible, mind-bending progress, why is it still so remarkably hard for companies and for people to simply sit down in a room and have an honest, direct conversation?
It remains the ultimate human bottleneck.
It really does. Thank you for joining us today and letting us be your guides through the noise.
Stay sharp out there.
Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Vibecasting. We'll catch you next time.